Good evening. I'm Pedro Hazel Jr.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
Welcome to another edition of Sportslines Plus. Tonight, we'll be discussing the Knicks versus the Celtics, the Rangers' new head coach, the Subway Series, and more. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. The internet address is youtube.com/@Sportslines Plus. The Knicks are leading their second-round series against the Boston Celtics 2-1. However, the Knicks got a drubbing yesterday at Madison Square Garden as they were trounced by Boston 115-93. This coming after two shocking wins in Boston, 108-105 on Monday and 91-90 on Wednesday night. Both games in which the Knicks were trailing by 20 points and then came back up to win the game. The Knicks and the Celtics play again at the Garden Wednesday night. Steve, what do you think of the series so far?
This is a series, honestly, Pedro, that I don't think any Knicks fan would have predicted would have been like this.
No.
First of all, the Knicks leading Boston 2-0 is the most shocking 2 games I've ever seen from the Knicks. This is a team, Boston, that just won the championship last year. Everybody had the Knicks probably dead and buried in 4 or 5 games. But the fact that they won 2 games in Boston on the road and trailing by 20 points, as you said, in both games was amazing. It was absolutely incredible to see them pull this off Cinco de Mayo. And I said to you, maybe because all these numbers were 5, there was some luck involved. May 5th, 2025. Yeah. So I said, okay, maybe they can do this once. But when they did it the second time, I'm watching it at home and I'm like, that's it. We got this game.
Wow.
I called you up and some other friends, and I said, I can't believe this happened.
I still can't believe it happened.
No. I mean, yesterday's game, I will excuse them up to a certain point. Part of it is, honestly, if you're a Knicks fan, let's be honest, you probably were a little complacent after you beat Boston twice.
Yeah.
And I think that was the malaise that hit the Knicks. They were up 2-0. They had the crowd on their side.
They were home,
They were home. People paid close to $2,000 per ticket.
If not more.
If not more. And God knows I'll never be able to afford that. And I have gone to playoff games, but that is way beyond my budget.
And way beyond many people's budget.
Absolutely. But
most people's, by the way.
The fact that they got completely obliterated in this game yesterday was another shock. The fact that Boston's shooting, which had been abysmal for the last 2 games, partly due to the Knicks' defense and partly due to the fact that they were hoisting up threes everywhere on the court.
Like they usually do.
Right. But yesterday, they hit half of those shots. They were on target right from the beginning of the game. The Knicks looked lethargic and tired and looked like they didn't want to be there. Now, that's the game that Boston had to win.
Had to.
And I'll underline that they had to absolutely win.
I figured they were going to win at least 1 game at the Garden.
You had
they had to win. Otherwise, their season.
Their season probably would have been had they lost yesterday. But the fact of the matter is now the Knicks are the ones that have to win Game 4.
Yes.
This is their game.
The pivotal game.
Yes.
We mentioned this yesterday.
Yes.
Game 4. If the Knicks win, I think they basically have control of everything.
That's it. I honestly believe the Knicks can win Game 4. Yeah, you can call me Mr. Optimist. A lot of my friends have.
But you did for much of the season though. You did say that the Knicks probably were never going to beat Boston.
Well, first of all, what we've seen of the New York Knicks, this is a complete revelation of what they were most of the season. I, for one, as well as a lot of my friends and you have said how soft they are defensively. Well, that's ended. I thank the Detroit Pistons for putting the Knicks through that excruciating 6-game series, or as physical as any team has been on the New York Knicks. That probably helped them the first 2 games because Boston had a chance to rest. And that made them maybe a little rusty. And they probably didn't think the Knicks were going to be this good. So I think the Knicks surprised them with their aggressiveness and their physicality for those 2 games. I think what really surprised them more was the fight this team had.
The defense when they needed. And also, too, Also, too, of course, Jalen Brunson, Mr. Clutch.
Oh yes, but without Jalen Brunson, none of this happens.
No.
He has been Mr. Electricity when it comes to the clutch, more so than any other player in the NBA.
Yes.
But what the Knicks did as a group defensively was astounding.
Oh, yeah.
Guys who had not been playing defense most of the year, Karl Anthony Towns, Bridges, McBride, all of these guys stepped up, and they really stepped up well. I saw Towns had 4 blocks in the second game.
Ooh,
to go with 17 points
he played
and 12
defense.
rebounds. Yes, he's the guy that I have been on the most on the Knicks.
Oh, yes.
He played. He's part of the reason the Knicks have a chance to win the series. Partly because he's a 7-footer with incredible offensive skills, and that's the one player Boston can't guard is him.
Yeah.
So I understand Carl's got a bad hand right now and might partially
have
a broken finger as a result of yesterday's game.
Even though they say he is cleared for game 4.
Right. But Karl Anthony Towns has to show that kind of fire and toughness to make New York Knicks fans believe in him.
Yeah.
And I'm also impressed with Bridges, who we knew we gave up 5 draft picks for this guy.
5 draft picks? Good. Great.
And most people will tell you they went too far giving up draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
I, for one, said you could have given up 3 draft picks, maybe 2 others in the lower round. But these are 5-star potential draft picks.
Yeah.
They gave up the farm for this guy. He's been a good offensive player all year, but not quite as good as he was when he was with the Nets. But defensively, he's really stepped up.
Oh, yes.
He ended the game for us Wednesday night, taking the ball out of the hands of Mr. The star player for Boston. You know, and he really saved the game for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at what he's done defensively.
Yeah.
Blocking shots, taking the ball out of the hands of the star player Jason Tatum to end the game. This is a guy who is showing us how badly and how much he wants to win. Because he wants to be a New York Knick and make a difference on this team. Now, we have to see where the Knicks go from here.
Yeah.
Either tomorrow night we're going to see an incredible performance from the Knicks, and the other thing they have to do, please get off to a better start.
Oh, yes.
Boston is not going to allow you to come back in games 3-4 times. You got away with it the first 2 games. You may have caught Boston a little rusty, a little tired early on. Don't count on it now.
No.
Get on their cases immediately.
Immediately, exactly.
And the defense that you played games 1 and 2, we need to see that from the beginning of the game right to the end.
Exactly.
And if the Knicks can do that and get some breaks along the way, which you need against Boston, because they're a freakish 3-point shooting team, and you're not going to get them shooting 22% from the floor. The more likely pitcher is the one we saw Saturday.
Yeah.
They are extremely tough with the 3-point shot. The Knicks are going to have to hit some of theirs also.
Yes, they
They
have
did not get off to a good start. They were terrible shooting for the whole game, 22% from the floor. And we're going to need help at that foul line. And Mitchell Robinson, who has been a stalwart on defense, without him, we aren't even in game 4. So I will say this to Mitchell Robinson. You've played your tail off defensively. You've rebounded well. You've helped us block shots. But please hit some foul shots.
Yeah.
I mean, your foul shooting is the worst part of your games, 37%. Did we ever have somebody worse than him? Yes, we did.
Chris Studley.
That's right. Chris Studley was a 20+% shooter in the 90s. See, Knicks fans, we don't remember these guys, but he was the worst foul shooter the Knicks ever had.
Yes, I remember.
Mitchell Robinson is pretty close to that. So we are going to need him to step up and hit some shots for us also.
Foul shots, yep.
I mean, that's a weakness of his game. He's not a good offensive player, but offensively, that's where we need to see a little bit of him from the foul line.
Yes, indeed.
But we're going to need a Jalen Brunson phenomenal game.
Another Jalen Brunson phenomenal game.
We're going to need that for sure.
We need everybody.
Everybody has to step up. The bench has to
play the A game.
Yes.
The entire game from start to finish.
The other problem they have, and this is a criticism I've had and you've had of Tom Thibodeau, Where is his bench?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about one player. I'm not talking about McBride. I want to see Payne in the game. I want McBride in the game. I want that guard they have, that guy Wright, DeLon Wright, who's supposed to be a good defender. Where is he in this series?
Yeah.
Tom Thibodeau, if you want to win the title and beat Boston, you need to play these guys. You are wearing out your team. This is a physical, tough series. This series requires everybody on the Knicks to play who can.
I know another friend texted me exactly the same thing. He's wearing out his bench. He's wearing out his team.
This is why I've had a problem with Tom Thibodeau. He's very similar to Pat Riley. Pat Riley was the guy who ruined the Knicks season in '94 by not playing Charlie Ward in the 7th game of that series.
Of course, yes. I remember John Starks. As much as we love him, 2 for 19, you got to take him out of there.
You can't win games like that.
Yeah.
And unlike Riley, it has never won a championship.
Yeah.
Maybe the reason you haven't, Tom, is you need to utilize your bench. Boston does it. It's time for you to do it. But I believe the Knicks can win Game 4. I'm optimistic.
I think so, too.
I think they are angry that they lost this game. They were humiliated on their floor.
Home court, yeah.
And now it is time for them to step up and beat this team.
Oh, yes.
If they can beat this team tonight, the series may be in their hands.
Yes.
But it's not going to be easy. This is a team that won the title. The Knicks are going to have to give it everything they have, Game 5, 6, maybe even Game 7.
And more.
But I trust my Knicks. I love them as much as all of us out here. Let's go Knicks.
Let's go Knicks. Meanwhile, the other team that plays at Madison Square Garden, the Rangers, hired a new head coach last week. The 38th and 4th since 2020-2021, Mike Sullivan, who led the Pittsburgh Penguins to back-to-back Stanley Cups in 2016 and 2017. He replaces Peter Laviolette, whom they fired on April 19th, only after 2 seasons and failing to make the playoffs in both of those seasons. And they hired Sullivan just a few days after he left the Penguins.
That's right.
Immediately.
Exactly.
How do you think about this move?
Well, I think this tells you how desperate and how much the Rangers want a Stanley Cup.
Oh, yes.
This man, Mike Sullivan, might be the savior, and that's what they need.
Yeah.
He has coached one team for 10 years. He provided a ton of stability for Pittsburgh. He is a terrific communicator. He is friends with Chris Drury. But I'm here to tell you, this is Chris Drury's last shot. If Mike Sullivan is not able to at least get them back to the playoffs in the upcoming season, I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Drury is toast. Gone.
Yeah.
But my question about Mike Sullivan isn't his ability to coach. My question, and we talked about this, is can he coach a team like the Rangers? He has had the good fortune of coaching superstar talent.
Yeah, Sidney Crosby.
Yep, and Malkin, and you mentioned some other players that they had of similar caliber.
Yeah.
So my question is, can he coach the Rangers?
Yeah.
Can he coach Kreider, Zibanejad, guys like that? They're good players. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
We were great 2 years ago. We got to the President's Cup with these guys, but we don't have the Sidney Crosby. We don't have Malkin. We don't have guys like that.
Yeah.
This man is used to talent at that level. Will he influence Chris Drury to make some changes with the team? Will he say, I need this superstar and that one so we can get to the top?
Yeah.
Or will they clash and have arguments all the time about their personnel?
Yeah.
And I think with Mike Sullivan, the other question I have is, how much experience does he have beyond the Penguins?
Yeah.
Where has he succeeded beyond this level?
I mean, he was the assistant coach for the Rangers back from 2009 to 2013. And he worked with 2 other teams, the Bruins and Tampa Bay Lightning, before he went to the Penguins. So he has that experience.
He does.
But he was the assistant coach in 2009 to 2013. So this is his second stint with the Rangers.
Yes, you've answered my question to a certain degree, Pedro, but I think this is the biggest test he's going to have as a head coach.
Yeah.
This man is so revered in the NHL. everybody who wanted to get him was trying to get him.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers were the ones who were fortunate to get this guy.
Because he and Chris Drury were very close. They
Right.
knew each other. They have a big history together.
They go back to 1997 when Chris Drury was a 20-year-old defenseman trying to make it in the NHL.
For Team USA. Yeah,
Right.
they played for Team USA. Yes.
Mike Sullivan is 7 years older than this guy.
Right.
So Mike Sullivan can probably bring an experience that he's had as a coach. He might be able to see things that Drury doesn't.
Yeah.
And by the way, what I learned about Drury is he's an autocrat the way he runs things, which is one of the reasons he may be in trouble. This man might say to him, no, you can't run it that way. I'm here to help you. We're going to work together.
Yeah.
We're going to break this up. You're going to listen to me. You're going to get talent that I want, not that you want.
Yeah.
And then we can work together as a duo and get this team up and running.
Reminds me of pretty much why the Rangers always seem to struggle. Despite that one season, they did win the President Cup.
Right. That's a big problem with the Rangers. The Rangers, in some ways, in my opinion, are kind of like the New York Yankees, in that every year there is conversation about winning a title. I want to see them get to that level.
Yeah.
I know we have good players. I know we have Shesterkin, who's a phenomenal goaltender, but even he didn't have a good year last year. I want to, and in the NHL, let me tell you, if you don't make the playoffs and you're one of the few teams, that's not like any other sport. There are almost 30 teams in the NHL. When you're excluded from that group, what does that tell me? There's a ton of work to do.
Right.
And you better get this done for us, Mike Sullivan, and you better influence Chris Drury into getting us up to that level.
Yeah.
Or your job is going to be over in 2 years like Laviolette and Vigneault. We don't want to see that. We want you here as long as you can be here.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this guy be here for but they are counting on this guy to be their savior. And the Rangers do this a lot.
Yes.
They put everything in that basket and say, do it for me.
Yeah.
But this is the time you're going to have to listen to Chris Drury. You and he are going to have to work together.
That's right.
Chris Drury, you cannot be the autocrat anymore.
Yeah.
This man has been brought in to coach, and he knows a lot more than you probably know about how to do it.
Yeah.
Now it's time for you to change your attitude, open up to this guy, and then you guys can work together as one.
Okay, say you get a double Stanley Cup winner, so
yes,
you should listen.
This is the guy that Chris Drury finally has to listen to.
Yeah, he's been wanting him for the longest time. Now you've got him.
Now you got him. And I understand Mike Sullivan has been blessed with phenomenal players, and I think that's the if I have on him. If he can get this group, which does not have superstar talent. They have good talent.
Yeah.
They have a strong team when they play well. But this team is very, very inconsistent.
Yeah.
You never know from one night to the next what the Rangers are going to do. And I've said to you for years, this team is a soft hockey team.
Yeah.
When you look at the Islanders and how physical they are, and the Devils with their skating and their speed and their aggressiveness, I want that from the New York Rangers.
Yes, indeed.
The last time we had that was when we won a Stanley Cup.
1994.
And we don't need to hear any chants like 1941 because
1940.
Because it took the Rangers 54 years to win that next cup.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that.
I don't want to hear 1994.
Right. I want a championship.
That's right. Damn it.
At the very least, I want this team back in the playoffs.
Exactly.
I'm leaving it to you, Mike Sullivan, to get into Chris Drury's headset and convince him that you're the guy to stay.
Okay. Yeah. Meanwhile, staying on the ice, the Islanders won the right to the #1 pick in the NHL draft. It is reported that they will pick Matthew Schaefer, who is a defenseman for the Erie Otters of the Ontario Hockey League. He averaged 1.29 points per game, the third most by an OHL defenseman. By the way, this will be the 5th round pick the Islanders will have in their history. The Rangers have the 12th pick. But what do you think about this guy, Schaefer?
From what I've heard, and we have a friend who's really into hockey who's told me he really likes this pick. He really thinks this is the guy that will get the Islanders going in the right direction. And they, like the Rangers, did not make the playoffs last year either. But this guy is a physical, strong left winger who can score goals and probably lead the Islanders out of the wilderness. So if he's the guy that they think he is, he might be worthy of the number one pick that they made.
Interesting. Now the Rangers are expected to pick Jack Nesbitt, a center projected to be a second line center, and the Devils acquired Jacob Markstrom, a defenseman from the Calgary Flames. What do you think those guys?
Well, I'll say this about Nesbitt. This is a guy that's supposed to be a second center, meaning when you have four lines in hockey, he would be the second. His group would be the second group coming in. He's a big guy. He's supposed to be a very good scoring player. So I think the Rangers are on the right track and working their way back. And the Rangers definitely need some new talent. So this guy will help them in that regard, and he'll also add some depth to the Rangers.
Okay.
And I'd like to see how well he does with us.
Okay. By the way, the NHL draft will be held June 27th and 28th at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles.
And by the way, let me just say this one thing. The player that the Devils are drafting is actually a guy whose name is Kevin Ball, I believe.
Well, they traded Ball to the Calgary Flames for Markstrom.
Oh, for Markstrom. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Devils, that's a little iffy as to who they're going to pick or if they're going to pick.
Yeah.
But thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Now on to baseball. The Subway Series is back.
Yay!
The Mets go to Yankee Stadium for a 3-game set this coming weekend, the 16th, 17th, and 18th. As of tonight, May 11th, the Mets are in first place at 26-15, 2 games ahead of the Phillies, while the Yankees are also in first, 2 games ahead of the Red Sox. 2 first-place teams facing each other, Steve. How do you think about the series, and how do you think each of these teams matches up?
This might be, and for those of us who've seen many of these, as you and I have, this might be the best Yankees-Mets series in years.
Yes.
Both these teams are really talented. The Mets are just starting to get their offense together.
Yeah.
But when you look at this Met lineup, there are very few weaknesses in this lineup. Rumor has it also that they're looking to get Luis Robert from the White Sox, the center fielder, who they have wanted for the last few years. And if they get him, they are going to be hell on wheels for the National League East. Because when I'm looking at, I see a team with a phenomenal trio of players in the lineup.
Yeah.
Lindor, Soto, who's starting to hit now, Met fans, you're going to see him in this series, and Alonso. The 2 of the 3 guys have had awesome years.
Yeah.
That's Lindor and Alonso. But Soto is starting to really hit.
Yeah, he's getting used to the new
National League. But
back in the National League again. I'm sorry. Adjusting back to the National League again.
I think without being unfair to him, I think part of his issue has been the contract. The 15 years, $765 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. I don't blame him.
It is. Even though he is a phenomenal talent.
Yes.
And he's done it in both leagues, so I believe in him. I still think he's going to have a terrific second half of the year, but he's just starting to come out of it now.
Yes, yeah.
Nimmo is having a very quietly good year. He has 8 home runs. He hit 1 today.
Yeah.
And if he can just get his batting average up, he's hitting a little over 200. If he can start hitting for average to go with the 8 home runs, he might be on his way to having a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
He had 23 last year, very quietly for the Mets.
Yeah.
So you look at this lineup, there are very few weaknesses.
Yeah.
Alvarez has home run power. Jeff McNeil has home run power. This is a strong team. Let me get to the Yankees and tell you how they are. First of all, Aaron Judge is on another planet.
Aaron Judge.
He is just the best hitter in the game. 14 home runs already this season, hitting over 400. But the one thing he and Pete Alonso have in common, they almost have the same number of RBIs. So interesting, but he's an incredible talent.
Indeed.
But imagine the Yankees if they had Juan Soto with this guy like they did last year. They would walk over the American League East. But they are a really powerful team in their own right.
Right.
But I think the Mets have the edge in the pitching department.
Yes, they do. I think.
Now, who knew the Mets would have an edge in the pitching department? They signed guys like Griffin Canning, who had an ERA of over 5 last year with the Angels. He's pitched so well. He's 6-1, and I'm going to tell you right now, if he falls apart in June or July, he's not going to. He'll make the All-Star team. He doesn't fall apart.
Yeah.
And Clay Holmes, the former closer of the Yankees, who is now a spot-on starter for the Mets. This guy is pitching lights out every outing. He and Canning have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
McGill, who I was about to say I've had enough of seeing him, get him out of here.
Yeah.
He had a bad outing yesterday. But
last night, yeah.
His record, he's 3-4, but his ERA is under 3. So he is pitching very well.
Right.
Senga, who was out last year with major injuries, is pitching really well.
Yeah. He's
walking some guys more than you'd like to see, but that ghost fork is phenomenal. That slider is phenomenal, and he's got a fastball of 96 miles an hour. The Met pitching staff has been amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
The bullpen, unfortunately, they lost 2 of their relievers, 2 of their lefty relievers.
Yeah.
They lost A.J. Minter for the season and Danny Young. Danny Young is going to have Tommy John surgery, which is always a deadly thing to say if you're a pitcher. The Yankees have pitching injuries, too. Marcus Stroman is not healthy right now, but they have Clark Schmidt who's pitched well. Carlos Rodon is one of my favorite pitchers, who's not a New York Met, is having a very strong year.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they don't even have Garrett Cole this year, who has been their ace for the last 3 or 4 years, is amazing. Yeah. This team, the Yankees, are very deadly as well. Yeah. I can see this series being as tight and competitive as it ever has been. But I would say to the Yankees, watch for Juan Soto.
Yes.
He's coming alive right now.
I know the fans are planning to turn their back at him.
Yes. Let me tell you something. My partner and I are going to be at that game. And
the Friday game.
Yes. And I will tell you all this right now. If the Yankee fans do that, turn their backs on Juan Soto, I want him to wail on the Yankees. Yeah. I want 2 home runs in every game. I want the Mets to rip them apart because Juan Soto is a star, and I don't care what team it is.
That's right.
This is a man who will give you 35, 40 home runs every year. He's improved on his defense. He wants to win championships. Yeah. He's been on good teams. He knows the Mets are a good team. That's part of the reason he joined us. But the Mets are so good offensively right now, they can even win without Juan Soto. But if he's hot in that series, I think the Yankee fans are going to rue the day they booed this guy.
Yeah. Finally, a lesson for Abdul Carter, the Giants' first-round picks around selecting uniform numbers. Recently, Carter asked Lawrence Taylor about using his number 56 jersey and Phil Simmons about his number 11 jersey. They both said no. Carter settled for number 51. Lesson to Carter: instead of asking legends to use their number, make a legacy for yourself.
Exactly.
And then have your number retired.
That's it. And interestingly, he picked 51. I believe he's my sign. If you follow anybody out here who follows horoscopes, Libra? I would have picked 15. Yes, Libra. But I would have picked 15. That's the reverse of his number. So if he's a Libra as much as I am, good luck to you. You make 51 your number.
Yep. Exactly. But Steve Ferguson and Pedro Hazel Jr. is saying, thanks for joining us. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, and the internet address is youtube.com/@Sportslines Plus. Have a good night, everyone.
Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets.